ವಿ ಆರ್ ಲೈವ್. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಡಿಪಾಸಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಬಂಧುಗಳೇ. ಇವತ್ತು ಶನಿವಾರ ಸಂಜೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಮತ್ತೆ ಭೇಟಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ವಿಶಿಷ್ಟವಾದಂತಹ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ನಾವು ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿರತರಾಗೋಣ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಒಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಇವತ್ತು ಅತಿಥಿಗಳು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ he is also a chartered accountant. I think many of you already know him. He is Mr. Indresh. He is a chartered accountant by profession. ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಅವರೇ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಹೋದ ವಾರ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ನಾವು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬಹಳ, ನಮ್ಮ ಡಿಪಾಸಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬಹಳ ಕಳಕಳಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಈ ಕಳಕಳಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮನಗಂಡು ವಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಅ ಸಿಗ್ನೇಚರ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು, ಆ ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಪಾಸಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ, ಆ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿದ ಜನ ಆ ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ಗೆ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ ಅಶೋಕನ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ತಲುಪಿಸಿ, ಇದನ್ನ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ನಮಗೆ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬರುವಂತೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಒಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಇಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಆಸ್ಪದ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡಿ, ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು, ಗುಹಾ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವು ಡಿಪಾಸಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮನವರಿಕೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ವಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಸಿಗ್ನೇಚರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪೇನಿನ ಏನು ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಆ ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ ನ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಶೋಕನ್ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಕ್ನಾಲೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಇನ್ನು ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸರಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ. ನೀವು ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಏನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀರ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ AGM ನಡೆಸಬೇಕು, ಆ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಗಳಿದೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಗಿಸಿ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಒಂದು ರಿವೈವಲ್ಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಮರ್ಜರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆ ತರದ್ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮುಖ್ಯನೋ ಆ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆನ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲೇ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನ ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳು ಕಾಯುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರೂ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಕಾಯ್ದ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆವಾಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವರನ್ನ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕು, ನೀವು ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಈ ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಮುಗಿಸಿ, ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ಮುಗಿಸಿ ಅಂತ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ RBI ಮೇಲೂ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಒತ್ತಡ ಹೇರುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಅದನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಸಂಘಟಿಸುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಹಾಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ನಾಳೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ನನಗೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇಂದಿರೇಶ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್, ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಬ್ರೀಫ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅವರೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಈಗ ನಾನು ಅವರನ್ನ ಏನ್ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಡಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ಗುರುರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಒಂದು ಒಡನಾಟ ಹೇಗೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಒಂದು ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ತಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಆಯ್ತು, ಹೇಗಾಯ್ತು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥೂಲವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಇಂದ್ರೇಶ್ ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಹರೀಶ್ ಅವರೇ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ಗು. ನಾ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ, ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷಲ್ಲೂ ಮಧ್ಯ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷಲ್ಲಿ ಮಧ್ಯ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಬರ್ಬೋದು. ನಾನು ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲೇ ಹುಟ್ಟಿ ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದು, ಬಸವನಗುಡಿ ಏರಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋದು. CA ಆಗಿ ಸುಮಾರು 32 ವರ್ಷಗಳಾಯ್ತು. CA ಆಗಿ 32 ವರ್ಷಗಳಾಯ್ತು. ನಾ ಮೊದಲು ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಲ್ಟಿನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಲಿ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ LIC ಹೌಸಿಂಗ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು NBFC ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು 10 ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು 15 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಮಲ್ಟಿನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ಗೆ, US ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಯುರೋಪಿಯನ್ ಕಂಪ್ನೀಸ್ಗೆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಕ್ಲೌಡೆರಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈ ಒಂದು US ಕಂಪ್ನಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಏಷ್ಯಾ ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ರೀಜನ್ಗೆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ನನ್ನ ವೈಫ್ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಈ ಗುರುರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ನಾನ್ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ವೆರಿ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್. ನಾನ್ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಪ್ರಾಬಲಿ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಐ ಮೈಟ್ ಲುಕ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಫೂಲ್, just about 1 month before the 35A was imposed. I think it was in January 2020. I think probably I kept it about 3 or 4 months prior to that. ಆ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಬಂದು ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ಇಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು, ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇವನ್ ಇನ್ ಜನವರಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ವೀಕ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಗಾನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೆಪ್ಟ್ ಸಮ್ ಮೋರ್ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ ವಿತ್ ದೆಮ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮೀ ಪರ್ಸನಲಿ ಟು ರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್, ಒಂದು ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ದಿ ನೇಮ್, ಏನೋ ರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿಗಳ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ಹೋಲಿ ಅಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಫಿಯರ್ ತರ ಇದೆ, ಒಂದು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ತರ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಇದರಿಂದ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನಲಿ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್. ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ವೆನ್ ಐ ಸಾ ದೇರ್ ಪಾಂಪ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದಟ್ ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ ದಟ್ ದಿ NPA is 1% or 1.5% ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ದಟ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎ ಸಸ್ಪಿಷನ್ ಇನ್ ಮೀ ಟು ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಆನೆಸ್ಟ್. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಒಂದು ಲೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1% NPA is enormously it's impossible practically. How are they managing 1% ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ? But then again ಒಂದು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ I had kept that deposit. ಸೊ ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ 35A ಆಯ್ತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಲವು ಪೊಲಿಟಿಷಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದ್ರು, ದೇ ಅಶ್ಯೂರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ 2 ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಗಿಯುತ್ತೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ತಮಗ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುವಂತದ್ದೇ. 1.5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಯರ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಯರ್. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗ್ಲಿಂಗ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೀನ್ ಹರೀಶ್ ಅವರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಚೇತನ ಆಗಿರ್, ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಆಫ್ ಯು ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ನೀವುಗಳು ಬೇಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಸುಮಾರು ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಆಗಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಗನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ಆಕ್ಚುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಆ ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವು ನಾನು ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತ ಕೆಲವು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ಗಳು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೌ ಮಚ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ. ಐ ಶೇರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಅಪ್ರಿಹೆನ್ಷನ್ಸ್, ಆಂಗ್ಸೈಟಿ, ಆಂಗ್ವಿಶ್, ಇದು ಆ ಕೋಪ, ಇದು ತಮ್ಗಳ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನನಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ನನ್ನ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇಂದ ಒಬ್ಬ CA ಆಗಿ ಈ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಹೇಗ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಭಾವನೆ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಐ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಶೇರ್ ವಿತ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು. ಅಂಡ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ಲಿ ಮೈ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್. ಡೋಂಟ್ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಎ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಆರ್ ಎ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅನ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಪ್ರೈವಿ ಟು ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಆಡಿಟ್, ಬಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಮೈ perspective. And just to start, I think all of us know that we nearly last year our finance minister said nearly 20% of the urban cooperative banks are weak. The word the finance minister used was weak, even though she did not specifically mention what causes a weakness. And this was when the urban cooperative banks were brought into the ambit of RBI. Earlier, we were like having two mothers. Unfortunately, if we had two mothers, probably we would have got more care. That is what probably most of the mythology tells us. Probably Lord Krishna ಗೆ ಇಬ್ರಿದ್ರು ಅಥವಾ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಷ್ಟು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆರೈಕೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿದ್ವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಗೋಯ್ತು, we had one mother in RCS cooperative societies, we had the other one as RBI, and probably both of them felt the other will take care of the cooperative banks anta heli. Cooperative banks department, or honestly they were not experts in financial matters, so they thought that it's not really their baby. RBI thought cooperative banking itself by nature is different from the commercial banking. It's an association of people together. Very theoretically, if you look, a cooperative banking meaning it is among the members, so it's a private group of members. So adrinda they were also not too serious about it. I think that is where our real problem started, because neither RCS took care of us nor RBI really bothered about us. But both were supposed to do whatever they were supposed to do under the law. They were doing it, or apparently they were doing it.
Okay, sir.
So
yeah. ಈಗ ನಾನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಮಗೆ I want to know what are the steps that may possibly follow now that you are privy to whatever that is been with your consideration and with whatever that you are seeing till now. What do you think are the steps or the ladder that we are going to climb up?
Sir, idರಲ್ಲಿ there are multiple things. The first thing is how if you look at it, why did this bank fail? It failed because it doesn't have enough money to pay its depositors. That's the first, obviously, all of us know. Let's step back and see, how does a bank fail? Because theoretically, if a bank collects 1 rupee as a deposit, they never lend the complete 1 rupee out to the borrowers. Normally, they lend about 70% or 75% and try to make money out of it. So in this case, it looks like whatever they have lent, the money is not coming in. So obviously, those first thing is we need to understand how bad is the situation of this bank. ಒಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರೇಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, all the banks were supposed to maintain a SLR, statutory liquidity ratios maintain ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. Honestly, I think none of us are privy, at least I am not privy, how much SLR this Guru Raghavendra Bank has kept, where it has kept, how safe it is ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. So my opinion here will be to revive this bank, or for honestly, none of us really care whether we revive it or not, as long as our deposits are returned back. That is our only focus today. So to get that money, how do we get the money? The money has to come either from DICGC, or it has to come from bank from its own sources. So DICGC ge one limit is up to that money probably we'll get it, that is assured. Above that, whatever is there, the only way the money can come is it has to come from the bank. So how does the bank generate the money? Bank can generate the money either from its own existing whatever they have lent, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ರಿಕವರಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದು ದುಡ್ಡು ಬರ್ಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಹೊಸಬ್ರು ಯಾರ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ ಬಂದು they can either invest it, lend it, take it under their thing, merger, and do all that. Now, let's step back. I know this is a very impassioned or impersonal view. Why will somebody invest in Guru Raghavendra Bank today? To invest anything, first they need to understand what is this bank is about. ಇದರ liabilities ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಆ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಕವರಿ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂತದ್ದೆಷ್ಟು, ಆಗುವಂತದ್ದೆಷ್ಟು, ಅಥವಾ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಯಲಿ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದೆಷ್ಟು, ಅಥವಾ ಗಾನ್ ಡೌನ್ ದಿ ಡ್ರೈನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಹಾಗೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಕೊಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿರುವಂತದ್ದೆಷ್ಟು, ಈ ಆಕ್ಚುಯಲ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಬರೋ ತನಕ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ ಕೂಡ ಇದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರನೇ all of us are struggling to get the audit report out as soon as early. ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ದೃಷ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹರೀಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಬಬ್ಲಿ ಅವರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಟರ್ಮಿನ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದಟ್.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಅದು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಾಗಿ you actually preempted me from asking for the next question. Actually, next question I was coming to the audit report and financial report. But before that, I just wanted to make an announcement that all of you who are watching this Facebook Live, if you have any question, please WhatsApp me. I think most of you know my number. You can WhatsApp me on my phone number, on my WhatsApp number. If you have any, any question relating to whatever that we are discussing, either our guest Mr. Indresh or I will try and answer those questions. So I will toss it up to Mr. Indresh to answer the questions. And if there are certain things that I need to step in, I will step in. So all of you who want to ask any question, you please put that question in our on my personal WhatsApp numbers. Okay, thank you. Now next is I was, as I said, ಈಗ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು. ಇದು ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್, ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಖ್ಯ, ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸುಮಾರು ಡಿಪಾಸಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು reiterate the importance of a report, audit report, and why it is done on an annual basis, why it is done on a quarterly basis, ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ತೀರ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡಿ ಸುರೇಶ್.
ಶೂರ್ ಸರ್. ಸರ್, ಇದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ದಟ್ when we are sick, what we do is we go and get ourselves tested. So what does the test does is it scans us, it checks how our body vitals are, how good they are, how bad they are. It will say this is the disease you have, or this is the possible causes for it, and this is what you should take. This is, I am talking about the current bank audit. Otherwise, an auditor role normally limits to expression of their opinion on the financial statements of the company. ಈ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿ ಕಂಪನಿ ಕೂಡ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರತಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಕೂಡ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸತಿ ಆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಇಂದ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟ್ ಇಟ್. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟ್ ಇಟ್, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಇಟ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೊಂತೀವಿ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. Auditors don't do that. It's not the responsibility of the auditor. And probably I have a liberty to take that and go a little bit off the subject. The very concept of an audit comes from the word called ADIR, AUDIOR. ADIR ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ದು ಆಡಿಯೋ ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೇಳೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಸೊ ಹಳೆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಇನ್ ದಿ ಓಲ್ಡನ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ದೇ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಸಿಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ tell the concerned person, this is how I have done, is this right, or this is how I have done. An auditor was supposed to listen. Ivaga yenagide andre, he has to listen, check and express his opinion on what is being prepared. And we have seen last so many years what has happened in this bank. And an auditor, as I said, maybe I'm little partial towards my profession. The auditor honestly does only a expression of his opinion. Adralli he does not say whether the bank is ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅನ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇನ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಡಿಟ್. ಆಡಿಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ an expression of opinion. ಸೊ ನೀವು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಏನಾರ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಿ, ದೆನ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ an ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಅಂತ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ನನ್ಗೆ ಈಗ ಆಡಿಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಡಿಟ್?
ಸೊ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, auditor what he gives is only an audit report. What does the audit report contain is, an auditor will tell the actually an auditor is responsible for the shareholders of the company or a bank directly, because the shareholders are normally expected to appoint the auditors. The auditors will report to the shareholders. What do the auditors report to the shareholders is basically, they say that it is the responsibility of the financial institution, bank or the company to prepare the accounts in a prescribed manner. They have prepared it and we have verified it, and according to us and according to the explanation given to us and as examined by us, these accounts give a true and fair view of the financial affairs of the company. This is exactly what the auditor says. Andre, he says that the financial statement, that is a profit and loss account, and the balance sheet gives a true and fair view of the affairs of the company or the bank. This is what exactly an auditor comments.
Okay. ಈಗ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ?
ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಮೇಜರ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ theoretically there is no difference between a bank audit or any other company audit, because in both the cases the intention of the auditor is same. The financial statements are prepared by the company or a bank, and an auditor expresses their opinion on that. Adikoskarne probably you will see that there are no specific bank auditors. Probably if I were to take the name of Gurujana who are doing the bank audit, they are the auditor for so many other manufacturing companies or any other type of companies. They're also auditors. They're also auditor for a bank also. From an auditor perspective, there is no difference between a bank audit or any other company audit. They are only expressing the opinion on the financial statements of the company.
Okay. So ಈಗ as auditor perspective ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ. ಈಗ ಇವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ ಸಾಹೇಬರು ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ LFAR ಅಂತ ಏನೋ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಸರ್?
LFAR ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಒನ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಆಸ್, ದಿ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್, ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ದಿ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿ RBI also gives a advice to the auditors to report in a particular format. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, till now the cooperative banks the auditors were appointed by the management themselves. It was not being appointed by anybody else. The bank management had a right to appoint the auditors whom they felt were good enough for them. But since there is a proposal by the RBI today, after some changes that have happened, that the auditors also today will be appointed by RBI, like commercial banks. ಈ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದಿ ಆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ themselves. For example, a state bank or any other bank, they don't appoint the auditors. How they do it today is there is a pool of bankers, auditors who need to be registered with the panel with the RBI, and RBI rates them according to their experience of the partners, how many people are there, how long they have been in the business. So the auditors are ranked according to their experience, and depending on the bank size and the nature, the RBI allots these audits to the statutory auditors. RBI is doing it for the commercial banks. Till now, the cooperative banks, the auditors were appointed by the cooperative bank itself. That from next year is going to change, and even the cooperative bank auditors will be appointed in this similar manner. So that's one change. So LFAR is nothing but long form audit report, which is nothing but a format in which an auditor will report. He says that the interest income is calculated properly, the loan are given, what RBI wants auditors to verify and come back. So those are the specific questions an auditor asks. And at this point, Harish, I also want to probably give one warning in this type of environment where the statutory auditors are appointed by the banks. My personal opinion is that auditors, no auditor really takes the bank audits very seriously. The reason is every year the bank audit keeps changing. That means if I were an auditor today of SBI JP Nagar, next year I will not be probably I will not be an auditor for JP Nagar SBI. I may be an auditor for Corporation Bank or Syndicate Bank, Vijaya Bank, or any other bank somewhere else. So my relationship with the banker or the particular branch is only for one particular year. And RBI gives us, or when I say us, the auditors, a time of about 10 to 12 days to complete the audit of a particular branch. All of us know in 10 to 12 days, what is that an auditor can really find out, investigate, and come out with a report. That never happens. That is why if you see any of the bank frauds that have happened, in none of them you had an auditor stepping up or standing up and saying, hey, this is the fraud, it has happened in this bank. Malyaga ishtu loan kottidru, Modiga ishtu loan kottidru, Ivrige ishtu loan kottidru. Why no auditor thing? And I'm not talking about the quality of auditor. You have some big financial institution like ILFS, so which was audited by some of the largest audit firms in the world. We call them as Big Four. So the Big Fours were auditing it. Even they were not able to find the mistakes or the frauds in that. So the role of an auditor in finding a fraud is very, very limited.
Okay. ಇವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಸಾಹೇಬ್ರು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಟೆಲಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಟಿಲ್ ನೌ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್. ಈಗ ಅದನ್ನ ಫಾರ್ಮೆಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಕೋಆಪರೇಟಿವ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಡು ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎನಿ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಇಸ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್?
Honestly, I will tell you they don't really matter, because it's only a change in the format. It's only an information guessing. My opinion on the administrator's thing is he is just buying the time for pushing it back. When I saw that video where he says that auditors did not know that there is a change in the format. I can very well urge it is not the fact, because I don't think any auditor can say that I didn't know which format I have to give a report anta heli. And especially Gurujana is a fairly large firm, so they are obviously aware of it. There could be some other reason why the audits are getting delayed, and the administrator is just telling this thing. If we can challenge him to give us in writing that the auditor did not know in which format he has to give it. This is exactly, I think he used the word, saying that auditors also they did not know, they prepared in the old format. Now they are asking in new format. That's, in my word, if I want to use the word, rubbish.
Okay. There is one more question that has been raised. I think this particular question was raised by one Mr. Prasanna Kumar. Now there is another question that has been raised by Ms. Chetana. I think you already know her from USA. she is asking what is the difference between unaudited balance sheet and audit report, statutory audit report. Now, also, she wants to know whether unaudited financial statement or unaudited audit report can it be published without being audited?
Okay. So there is no bar on publishing any financials by the bank. If the bank wants to publish it, they can publish it. They prepare it. As I said, that auditors are not the one who prepare the accounts. They only comment on the accounts that are prepared by the bank. So theoretically, as per the law, what the law says is the books are maintained by the bank. The board of the directors of the bank, they adopt these accounts in their board meeting, and then they forward it to the auditors for their report thereon. This is exactly the process, which means that if an auditor has to sign tomorrow, the bank should be ready with an unaudited financials today. It is not the responsibility of auditor to prepare the financials and give it to the bank.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is the bank has to prepare all the financial everything ready.
Exactly.
And auditor will look at it.
Correct.
And whether he will find out whether it is right or not. If there are any discrepancies, he finds that he wants more clarifications. So those kind of things is what auditor does. And once he is satisfied with all the input that has been given, he will sign that. And once auditor signs that, then it can go to the public domain. Is it what you're saying, sir?
Not really. There is no bar on public to get an unaudited thing. I tell you why the banks do not want to publish an unaudited report is, imagine that a bank publishes an unaudited results today. And tomorrow the auditor finds that there are so many errors in that. So many changes will have to happen. So tomorrow when the audited statement happens, that can be completely different from what is unaudited.
Okay.
The problem is if a public wants to believe in the unaudited reports, I'm not talking specifically about this bank. Imagine you take a decision on an unaudited financials, and tomorrow after the audit is done, you find that is completely different from what is already published as unaudited. Okay. So there is a risk you carry in trusting an unaudited report. I'm not saying that once it is audited, it becomes completely holy or anything, but an unaudited reports does not carry much weightage because it is just prepared by the bank and it is not verified by the auditors.
Okay, so it is more prudence rather than being a law.
Yes.
Okay. ಮತ್ತೆ ಹಂಗೆ ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಬಂದಿದೆ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ವಿತ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್, a few more questions have come.
Sure.
ಓಕೆ, ನೀವು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ, RBI ನವರು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವೈ ದೇ ವರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್? How did RBI give a clean sheet all this year and suddenly caught hold of the bank? All of a sudden, just one fine day, they opened their eyes, woke up from the sleep and stopped the bank. Why did it happen? Background ಏನಿರಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನಿಸಿಕೆ?
It's only my guess because I don't know how this would have happened, but I have seen in certain other places something similar happening. Let's understand what does an RBI does as an inspection. As I said, till now, all these cooperative banks were having two mothers, RBI and RCS. RBI responsibility was limited to inspection of the books of the particular bank. Let's take, for example, and I'm taking a very wild example. I'm not saying that this has happened here. I'm giving a very wild example. You look at that one account is becoming an NPA, and they have taken this money to remove it as an NPA. They have taken the money from the cooperative society and filled in against that particular account and make that account to look like a normal account. An auditor of RBI is not equipped enough to find out from where did that money come from. I'm giving an example. Nan account major borrower na ದುಡ್ಡು ಕಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ, have not repaid. The account should be treated as an NPA. But what management does is it takes the money from some other person or some other account or some other source and fills in it to make this account look like a normal account. What an RBI inspector looks at is whether this account, the money has come in. So money has come in. So according to him, this account is good. But in reality, it is not. That is where the limitation of an inspection of or an audit comes into picture, where they go only by what is presented to them and they don't go what is hidden behind that. So that is probably is one of the reasons why the bank was smart enough to show all the good numbers to the auditors of the inspection of the RBI also, and they just checked the documentation and they were fine. And the other indication is whether the bank had defaulted in repayment any of the deposits. It had not done. Whether it had sufficient cash to meet all the depositors as on for the records it was there. Whether the borrowers had given all the payments on time. On paper it was there. So probably based on these documentation, what was presented to them, I'm giving possibly a reason why RBI would have inspected that way and given the rating. And the moment they started feeling something fishy about it, I think somewhere in the month of October, they had issued a notice to the bank, October 2019. In their inspection, they had issued a notice to the Raghavendra Bank highlighting certain discrepancies. They were given certain time. The bank did not respond to it. Probably by then they had realized that their game is up, so they can't hide it anymore. That is how I think finally the RBI realized that they were taken for a ride and they had to impose these restrictions. Okay. These are all my guesses.
Guesses, okay. You're purely for your personal opinion. Also,
absolutely.
And also, are you aware or do you have information on, this question has been coming again and again and again. Everyone is talking of the same thing, which is nothing but A grade. So RBI giving this bank A grade. Now, can you tell me whether RBI gives this A grade or whether it is the auditor or is the RCS or who gives the A grade and what is the whole thing all about?
So, as per the records, what is given to us, the A grade has been given by the RBI. As I said, that they have a parameters that the NPA level should be less than 1%, the CRR level must be maintained, SLR level must be maintained. So when all these things are maintained on paper, and the RBI has inspected on paper, and they have found it to be an A grade, and they have given an A grade. And I tell you, there is nothing in the law which says that, okay, we were fooled the last time. So we realized that in October that the bank is taking for a ride. So we immediately acted upon that. That is what the RBI will come back to us and say that, yes, what the bank showed us the documents were there. Let's assume that the same way all of us were fooled by the pamphlet, what the bank was showing that less than 1% NPA, this, that, and all those things. So the same documents were shown to the auditors and the inspectors also. So they all would have gone by what is shown to them, and they may not have any reason to disbelieve these people at that point of time.
Okay, so it is either what we can say looking at the way the government functions, it could either be what do you call it, a deliberate or non-deliberate, but somehow they were not able to find out what exactly is happening.
Obviously, we can say that RBI failed in that. Yes, they have failed in that.
Okay, and okay, now after this audit, I think we have quite exhaustively spoken about audit report. Now, the next topic that I want to pick up is on a very current topic, which is DICGC.
Okay. So Adik Muncha, I wanted to, because in one of the things I was hearing, what to do about the auditor? Can we go behind them? Yes. Okay. Yes, we can still go behind them. And the Institute of Chartered Accountants has a mechanism in which they can investigate the conduct of their members. And there are certain reasons or the certain discrepancies. They say that one is expression of opinion based on something, failure to disclose, failure to report misstatement. All these things are considered to be a breach of trust. And the CA Institute has a mechanism. A complaint can be lodged with a group called Director Discipline of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. There is a fee of something like 2,500 rupees for each complaint. So we can lodge this complaint. And what that particular group does is they do their own investigation. They can either reprimand the member, they can remove his name from the register up to 3 years, because beyond 3 years they need the approval of the High Court, or impose any penalty they can do. But in my opinion, or in my experience, reprimanding an auditor for failure of a bank, unless we can demonstrate and prove that the auditor was utterly negligent, or he had also colluded with the management in cheating the public, it could be very difficult. But there is a way to do.
There is
that.
an option. There is an option.
There is an option.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This question has been popping up quite a few times, and
Yes,
we have been
I
trying to
know.
address it.
I know.
So thanks for giving such a clarification. So now coming back again. So we have seen that Cabinet Committee has approved this DICGC Act amendment, and as what we have been hearing in public domain, that the deposit insurance has been raised from 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees.
Correct.
And earlier it used to be that once the bank was liquidated, and once the liquidation process is completed, and whatever is left over, if the amount does not fill up the next 5 lakh rupees, then DICGC would kick in and fill up that 5 lakh up to 5 lakh rupees gap. So that used to be the process, and now they are trying to reverse it by giving first 5 lakh and then going for other processes, whether it is merger or amalgamation or liquidation, all those things. Now, what difference do you see in that? So
Okay.
how is it different? Can you explain how it will work?
Okay, so I can talk about the DICGC if you really look at it. DICGC covers all deposits, like whether the money is in savings account, fixed account, current account, recurring deposit, wherever it is, because there were some questions whether only FDs are covered, whether the savings bank deposits, savings bank balances are covered. Yes, in whatever the amount we have kept in RD, FD, savings account, everything is covered by the DICGC up to 5 lakhs. The second is whether only the principal is covered or the accrued interest is covered. The DICGC covers including the interest accrued, again, but the maximum amount is 5 lakhs, which means that if somebody has kept a deposit of 4 lakhs and on the day when it is due, another 1 lakh is added as an interest. Now the total amount is 5 lakhs. The DICGC covers include the accrued interest. That is the second one. And the third, some question was if I kept the money in different branches of the same bank, will I get 5 lakh for each branch or something? No. Whatever the money you have kept in the bank, all are pooled together. Whether if I kept it in 2 banks, will it be added? No. For each bank, it is a separate insurance cover. One more question. Is it limited? Suppose
1 minute, sir. 1 minute.
Go ahead.
Just to give a clarification, I'll just illustrate it with an example. Like if you have 4 lakh rupees in Canara Bank, and if you have 4 lakh rupees in say Indian Bank, and another 4 lakh rupees in Karnataka Bank, so these three will be separately dealt with, not clubbed together. That's what you're saying.
Theoretically, if all of them go bust, if you have kept in 4 banks, up to 20 lakhs, you have the insurance.
That's right. Okay. Yes. Sir.
Per bank, it is 5 lakhs. Okay.
Okay. So carry on.
And the next question is it if I have a joint account, will I get 20 lakhs? 10 lakhs? No. It is the way it works is, suppose in my name I had one deposit of say 3 lakhs. With my wife, I had a joint account and I had kept another 5 lakhs. Me being the first holder, then whether both will be added? No. If it goes by each deposit, how it is nomenclated. What they say is you must be in the same capacity. Same capacity means if I'm an individual deposit holder, however the number of accounts I have in different branches, it is added together. If I have it in a joint name, even though I may be the first holder, even that is treated as separately. Suppose I had deposit in my wife's name separately. That is treated as a separate deposit. I had one more joint account, joint deposit, me and my wife being the depositors, but in that my wife being the first depositor, that is taken as a separate deposit. So theoretically, if me and my wife, we had kept two in individual basis and another two in first, me being the first depositor, in the other one, my wife being the first depositor, this is considered as four separate individuals, and the insurance is covered for four different accounts. So that's another thing, because somewhere I was reading, somebody was saying we should keep it in 20 banks to cover if you want to keep 1 crore and other things. Not necessarily. If you have about 2-3 people in your family, you can do a permutation combination of different deposits and you can get this coverage separately. And the next one is whether DICGC will call us, send us a check to us for our deposits. No, DICGC will not relate or work with the individuals. The bank has to make a claim with the DICGC along with the details of the holders. DICGC will give that money to the bank and the bank has to disperse that money to the depositors. Yes, earlier 1 lakh was there. Now it is changed to 5 lakhs. Earlier, only if it is either liquidated or merged with something else, then this insurance would have kicked in. Now with the new amendment, even if the bank is not liquidated, if it is in stress or distress, this can kick in. That's the change that has come in.
Okay. Now, if bank, as say for example, like our bank, if it is imposed with 35A section, so from the date, you mean to say that in the next 90 days, the amount will be through bank, it will be distributed back to the depositors. So that's what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Now there is one more question that has been very frequently asked. Now our bank 35A was imposed on January 10th, and from then on till now, we have been allowed to withdraw 1 lakh rupees. Now, if in case if this new amendment kicks in, now will we get 5 lakh rupees or will get 4 lakh rupees? Considering 1 lakh we have already withdrawn.
I understand. Theoretically, I don't know about the actual fine print. We need to check. As the scheme stands now, on this day, whatever is outstanding, because what the insurance comes into picture in the incapacity of the bank to pay. Suppose I had a 5 lakh deposit and 1 lakh bank was already able to pay. I'll take this example. I had kept 6 lakh as the deposit. Bank had already paid 1 lakh to me. So with that, my deposit due from the bank today is 5 lakhs and the insurance covers that 5 lakhs. So theoretically, I should get back this additional 5 lakhs, even though I would have got 1 lakh earlier. This is the normal DICGC process. But again, the devil lies in the details unless there is some change in that. But this is the process. It says that whatever is due on this day, that is the amount DICGC should reimburse up to 5 lakhs.
Okay, so that means most likely that they will get 5 lakhs unless there is some fine prints to be read in between the lines.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what will happen to the deceased account holders?
So deceased account, deceased account holder, actually, it works in this way. If the deceased person had already put a nomination, the nominated person will take his position. And if he has not nominated, the legal heirs will take their position. Just because a person is deceased, nothing will happen to that deposit. It will still be in thing, but they need to identify who's the legal heir for it.
Okay, so that claim has to be done, and so it is just like any normal account that is closed for any deceased person. So just like when the bank is running, how you go provide death certificate and give them your hire, just try to prove that you are higher, and then such a thing.
And one note here, Harish, if somebody has raised a loan against the deposit, okay, I had a 5 lakh loan deposit. I've already taken a loan of 4 lakhs and I have not repaid that. So will I get 5 lakhs as a insurance from this? No. There is a clause which says that any amount that is due from the depositor, the bank has to first net that off. So that means if I have a deposit of 5 lakhs and if I have taken a loan against that of 4 lakhs against the deposit, if I've taken separately from the bank, it does not come into picture. Keeping the FD as a security, if I have taken a loan, the bank will first adjust that loan against that deposit. and then
Okay.
pay the balance.
Okay. So if there is another loan, when apart from this FD, without
Yeah,
pledging this FD, if you have another separate loan which is pledged something else or unsecured loan, so
they
that
can't do that.
they can't do that.
DSCGC will, yes, DSCGC will not worry about that. It says only any amount due on the deposit.
Okay. Now there is one more question, because particularly considering Guru Raghavendra Bank, there are a huge number of, that is almost to say about 120 institutional depositors like credit cooperative societies, whether it is Guru Sarvabhauma Society or many other societies. Nearly hundreds of such societies have kept a lot of money in this bank. Now, will they be considered specially, or will they be considered as like any other depositors?
They are also considered as like any other depositor.
So they will also be eligible only for 5 lakhs, irrespective of the amount of deposits that they have.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let me see. There are any other questions. Okay. Yeah, I think many of the questions have already been answered. Now, I want to go to the next step, which is I want to ask you on the current scenario in the cooperative bank. We are seeing there is a lot of hue and cry going on in cooperative sector. You know, one after the other, many places, many different parts of our country, this cooperative sector is crumbling, and many banks are getting into the debt trap, and they are getting into restrictions and RBI fines, and such things are quite extravagantly happening everywhere. Can you give us your perspective on what is happening and what is wrong happening in cooperative sector, or how can it be fixed? I mean, you have any ideas? Can you give throw some light on?
Sure. Say, I'll just give an example of NBFCs. This happened around 1997, 98 January. At that point of time, there were something like 50,000 NBFCs working in India. 1998, January 2nd, I can recollect the exact date. On that day, the RBI came out with a notification called Prudential Norms for the NBFCs. So when those norms were applied, out of 50,000 NBFCs, 49,500 NBFCs vanished in no time. Only 500 NBFCs were able to think. Because earlier what was happening was the control on the NBFCs were very weak. They were not following accounting standards. They were not under RBI. They were not under RCS. They were not under Money Lending Act. They were not under any control. So that is why we had the concept, or we were calling them as a blade companies. So that is how the concept of an NBFC started. Mainly in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, you had so many NBFCs that came and that vanished also. The control was very weak on that. So once the RBI stepped in, it tried to bring in certain discipline into that. It is not that because RBI is there, things will change drastically. We even after with under RBI control itself, RBI monitoring itself, Yes Bank failed. So it is not that RBI is a panacea or a medicine for all the ills of the banking sector. But my only hope is with the cooperative banks are also now coming under the exclusive ambit of RBI, no longer with the RCS. The things must look better, and the cooperative banks which survive this phase, they are going to do well. At the end of the day, Harish, it's a human greed or human mindset that I give money to the bank and bank gives it to somebody else for a higher interest. That is a normal working, and that's basic for any bank. And banks are also now realizing that at giving just a higher deposit rate to the depositors, they cannot lure more people today. Most of us fell into this trap because Raghavendra Bank was giving us a higher rate of deposit, and we went and deposit there. But that is going to change. The RBI is going to monitor more of these cooperative banks also. My view is, yes, the cooperative banks, I think about 1,500 multi-state cooperative banks are today, is what I understand. Out of that, Finance Minister herself has said 20% are weak. I think the remaining, whoever succeeds going over this crisis, they will definitely do well because of these RBI measures, what they're taking. So this is my view. And again, the fundamental thing all of us know, greater the risk, greater the profit, or the reverse of it. If you want more, you have to take risk more. That applies everywhere.
Okay. Now, actually, what happened is I got a flurry of questions from many depositors again, going back to DSCGC. So I'm very much tempted to go back to the same topic and ask you one very, very, very basic question, which is, if the depositors are given 5 lakhs, what will happen to those who have kept more than 5 lakhs? That is a burning question, which I
Sure.
which I perhaps overlooked, or I was reminded by many of our depositors to know what will happen to those who have more than 5 lakhs.
Theoretically, nothing changes. They will be still the depositors of this bank. Their fate is linked to the fate of the bank. If the bank is able to merge with somebody, get revival, obviously they will get the remaining amount of money. I'm talking in a very theoretical thing, because it's a theoretical question. Tomorrow, if the bank sinks and it does not have any more money to pay, then whatever is the 5 lakhs you get, that will be the one. But if the bank gets some more money, and if they are able to pay 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever the bank is going to pay, that is what you are going to get. So DSCGC has nothing changes your liability with the bank. Up to 5 lakhs, you are getting a assured money back. That's about it.
Okay.
You are right on the remaining amount does not get extinguished.
Extinguished, as long as it can be recoverable. If it is not recoverable by the bank, then it's gone in thin air.
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on that. Is when now the fate of depositors are linked to the fate of the bank.
Bank directly. Okay. Okay. So okay. Now next set of questions that comes up is, okay, cooperative sector. Yeah. Now cooperative sector again, remaining with cooperative sector. Okay, so this was the actual agenda. We just wanted to go on with these many topics. That is mainly a prospect and future prospects of how our bank is, importance of audit report, and current situation in the cooperative sector and DSCGC Act. I think we have been quite extensively answering all these questions. So I will just toss up this in case if our depositors have any more questions. I think many of them we have been able to answer. So let us see next we have about 10 to 15 minutes, and we will see how many, if there are any other questions that pops up.
And sir, even if there are any, probably you can take it, and you can call me, and whatever I know, I'm happy to share.
Okay.
From my side, I wanted to probably share one thing. I could see in the WhatsApp group, there was some concerns about the TDS being made on the interest. Okay. There was a question, a lot of people were asking, bank is not giving us the interest, why they should deduct the TDS. The law is they need to deduct, they will do it. But as a depositor, you have an option to not to disclose this interest in your tax return in the current year, and not claim the TDS also in the current year. By God's grace or thing, you get these interest back in the next year. You can offer this as a taxable income in the next year and claim the TDS, what you did not claim in this year, in the year when you actually receive the interest also. There is a provision in the Income Tax Act where you can offer the interest either on receipt basis or on accrual basis. Even though the tax would have been deducted, you don't have to today offer that to your income and pay additional tax on that. You can hold on till you get the interest, and in that year, you can claim the TDS, what is deducted in the current year also.
Okay, yeah, one person is asking, can the bank use its reserve money to pay the depositors?
That will be the final outcome, what the RBI decides. Yes, theoretically, they should have kept about 22% of their deposits in SLRs. So that money is available. We do not know how safe or how real they are. All these issues will come up once we know the real position of the bank.
Okay, now file account. Okay, now I will just read out this. Can DICGC fund rupees 5 lakh per account to the investor as a part of bailout of this bank in the case DICGC fund So that's basically the question. Can this 5 lakh rupees be given to the investor as a part of bailout of this bank?
No, because this is the insurance on your deposit. So the money will have to be paid against the deposit, not as an incentive to a third party investor. What happens is, at some point of time, let's assume how it works. The DICGC funds this money to the bank to be given to the depositor. If the bank continues, if the bank gets revived or gets merged with somebody, the amount what DICGC has paid, the bank will have to repay it back to the DICGC. DICGC can agree with this continuing bank or the merging bank, saying that, okay, you can repay in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or you don't have to repay. So that is a negotiation. The bank which is going to take us over, or if somebody is investing, they can negotiate with the DICGC. DICGC cannot offer this to somebody else in lieu of making payment to us.
Okay. So in fact, what he has also mentioned is, so 26,000 rupees, 26,000 depositors into 5 lakhs is 1,300 crores. So that will take up. But actually, that is not the case. It only says up to maximum 5 lakhs. It is not
correct.
Multiplied
everybody
by
will
5.
get 5 lakhs. No,
it's not that everybody will get 5 lakhs. It is maximum up to 5 lakhs. If you have
correct.
5 lakhs in that account, only then, 5 lakhs or more, only then you will get 5 lakhs. If somebody has 3 lakhs, he will get only 3 lakhs. If he has 10 rupees, only 10 rupees will come. So that's
including accrued interest.
Accrued interest, yes, including accrued interest. Okay. So yeah, there is one question I'm forced being asked in verbatim. Okay. As from the auditor's perspective, there is no difference between auditing a cooperative bank or a company. Can they publish the unaudited balance sheet in cooperative bank like they do in the companies?
They can. Nothing stops the company from publishing it. But only problem is tomorrow, it's a risk on the people to trust some. We never, the audited balance sheets itself found out to be so bad in the earlier years. What do you do with an unaudited balance sheet? The administrator can give you tomorrow, and how do you trust it? At least with an audited, you know that something else has been checked. That's about it. Okay. So it is one step below an audited balance sheet. So an unaudited balance sheet, trusting the bank to give you a fair view. That's about it.
Okay. So whether it is a company, whether it is a nationalized bank, whether it's a scheduled bank, or whether even if it is a cooperative bank or a cooperative society or any category of institution, this holds good. Like if there is an unaudited balance sheet, to be published will be unprudent from their perspective.
If you remember, last year the administrator used to publish some of this data in the website also, saying what is the total deposit that is held, what is the securities that is held, and all that. Some numbers, scrambled numbers, we used to see that published it. But how many of us are willing to believe that?
Okay. So I think that should answer the question. Now I will see if there are. Okay. Now, is audit report necessary to kick in this DICGC 5 lakh rupees?
Not necessary.
Not necessary. Okay. So audit report is not a prerequisite to dole out this 5 lakh.
It's only the inability of the bank to repay our deposit.
Okay. So audit report not required for that.
No.
Okay. Again, there is a clarification being sought on the previous question that I asked. Does the law allow publishing of unaudited balance sheet in case of cooperative banks?
Law does not prohibit anything. It is up to the bank to share the information to the public. But only thing is they cannot say that this is an audited or this is the factual. They can only say this is what we have.
Okay. I think that's about it as of now. So probably in future, if we have few more questions, we can directly interact with Mr. Indresh.
Sure.
Or we can call him in case if we get a bundle of questions, we can again call him to come back on Zoom link, Zoom live, and then do a Facebook session again. So
only caveat, Harish, is I'm not a banking expert. I'm not a banker. I'm only
Okay.
so.
Okay. So can you, as a conclusion, do you have anything more to say, or you want to say anything to our deposit?
Sir, my only thing is we have a lot of seniors in this group. A lot of seniors have deposited in this bank, hoping that our money is safe. Let's all pray and hope the money will be safe. Things are moving in the sense DICGC is coming. The administrator has promised the audit report will come. Hopefully, things will be brighter. Let's all pray. And whatever you guys are doing, you are doing tremendously well. You are putting pressure on the administrator. All the right things, all the right noises we are doing. My only hope and prayer is all our efforts will bear fruit, and we will be at least whatever the money we are owed by the bank, we get back. That's all my wish is.
Okay. So yeah, before we conclude, just one last question. If in case if we have any investor to come in without any prejudice or without anything, any privy to any knowledge or anything, what is the benefit that an investor gets if he invests in a bank, or if he invests in our bank for that matter? Specific question.
Sir, honestly, it depends on how he evaluates our bank. I'll give you an example. Probably I can take a couple of minutes. So assume that our liability, or we have a wonderful loan portfolio. You have a good asset portfolio. Your liabilities are pretty less. You have a good banking license. You have good infrastructure. These are the things which will attract an investor. He has to see how does he make money out of it. If he sees a way to make money out of it, definitely is going to invest. That's as simple as that. To evaluate it, he needs an audited balance sheet. That is a requirement for it. So it depends on how good or how bad is our balance sheet will be.
Okay, I think that should have answered all the questions. Now, I from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, Mr. Indiresh, for having taken this opportunity to come and accepted my invitation and come here to answer such, almost it was like a machine gun fire. The questions and all those things were like a machine gun fire, and you braved it out and given a wonderful answer to each and every question. And I think most of our viewers have definitely quite satisfied with the answers. And in case and you have also given an assurance that in case if there are any questions, you will definitely answer them. And in case if it is required, you will come again on the Zoom session. So I from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for Mr. Indiresh, and we will soon join. And thank you for all.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So thank you, sir. Best wishes to everybody.
Okay,
take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, viewers. Again, I thank you everyone for having joined this program. Now, this program. We had Mr. Indiresh answering most of the queries that have come to us. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜನ ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಕೇಳಿದಿರ. ಆದಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಉತ್ತರಿಸಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟಿದೀವಿ. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಕೇವಲ ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಾನು ಆದಷ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ for obvious reasons, because I want general questions to be answered. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಉತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯೋಣ. ಈಗ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸ್ತಾ ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮುಂದಿನ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ ಅಂತ ನಾಳೆ ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೋತೀವಿ. ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಟೈಮಿಂಗ್ಸು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾಳೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ನಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಪಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದು ಲೈವ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಓಪನ್ ಸೆಷನ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರ್ಬೋದು. 100 ಜನ ಅಪ್ ಟು 100 ಜನ ಜೂಮ್ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ 100 ಜನ ತನಕ ಅಕಾಮಿಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಜೂಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 100 ಜನ ಬಂದು ಸೇರ್ಬೋದು. ತಾವು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೆ ಹಂಚ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ ಆ ರೀತಿ ನೀವು ಹಂಚ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಲೈವ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾರ್ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಜೂಮ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರಕ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಲೈವ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ನಾನು ಒಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಸೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂಲ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಣವನ್ನ ವಾಪಸ್ ಪಡೆಯುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಶುರು ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನಾವು ಈ ಹಿಂದೆನೂ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿದೀವಿ, ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಮೇಧಾವಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಸೇರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಒಂದೇನೆ, ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್, ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್. ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬರೋ ತನಕ ನಾವು ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ಹೋರಾಟ ನಡೆಸ್ತಾನೆ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಎಷ್ಟು ಒತ್ತಡ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಬುಧವಾರನು ನಾವು ಬುಧವಾರನು ಹೋಗಿ ನಾವು ಆಡಿಟರ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ ಅಶೋಕನ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮನವಿ ಪತ್ರವನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ವಿ. ಒಂದು 300ಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನ ಆ ಸಹಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನ ಮಾಡುವುದು. ಆ ಸಹಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 300ಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನ ಬಂದು ಆ ಒಂದು ಮನವಿ ಪತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ. ಆ ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ಗೆ ಮೋರ್ ದನ್ 300 ಪೀಪಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಮೆಮೊರಾಂಡಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಗಿವನ್. ಅಂಡ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ has a good understanding of the amount of pressure that depositors are in, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮನವರಿಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ವಿ. ನಾಟ್ ದಟ್ he doesn't know, he definitely knows, and he gave us an assurance that ನಾನು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಹಾಕೋಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ನಾನು ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ವಯಸ್ಸಾದವರು, ನಾನು ನೋಡದಂಗೆ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು, ನಾನು ನೋಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಜನ ಪಾಪ ವಯಸ್ಸಾದವರು ಅಮಾಯಕರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನನಗೂ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಿಂಪತಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಾನು ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಐ ಹೋಪ್ ಹಿ ಕ್ಯಾರೀಸ್ ಆನ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ ಸಿಂಪತಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಹಿ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಸಿಂಪತಿ ಟು ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಅಸ್ ದಿ ಆಡಿಟ್ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪೇವ್ಸ್ ವೇ ಫಾರ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ processes to follow which will help us revive this bank. ಈ ಒಂದು ಮಾತಿನಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾಳಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಟೈಮಿಂಗ್ಸು ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ ಇರೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ನಾಳೆ ವಾಟ್ಸ್ಆಪ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಮುಂದಿನ ಏನ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥೂಲವಾಗಿ ನಾಳೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ನಮಗೆ RBI ಚಲೋ ಮಾಡೋದಿದೆ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಡೇ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಭೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಒತ್ತಡ ಹೇರುವಂತ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾಳೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ಸೇರಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಠೇವಣಿದಾರರಿಗೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಹಿರಿಯ ನಾಗರಿಕರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ದುಡ್ಡು ಸೇರ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ವಿಶ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ, ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಹಣ ಇಟ್ಟಿರೋ ದುಡ್ಡು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ಬರ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅಭಿವಂದನೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ. ಬಾಯ್.